Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on from where you have joined. My name is Rohit. I will be your host for today. Welcome to another webinar by Data Platform Geeks. Today's session is on create an advanced Q&A bot using Azure Bot Service. And today's speaker, we have Anupama Natarajan, who is an MVP from New Zealand. And I have Satya Ramesh with me, who will help us with the whole moderation of this webinar. A quick word about eDominer systems. We have a lot of brands under eDominer, Data Platform Geeks, of which you all are a part of. We also have the annual summit that we have every year, and we recently concluded the Data Platform Summit 2018. I will speak about it in a moment. And we have SQL Maestros, where we have the master classes, where we offer advanced SQL training. We have the learning kits and the hands-on labs. And Peopleware India, where we do a lot of training on various technologies, and our own Expand SMERP product. And as I mentioned earlier, Data Platform Summit 2018, which concluded recently in August this year, it happened at Radisson Blu in Bengaluru. It was a 3-day conference from 9th to 11th, and the pre-cons, which are full-day classroom trainings, it happened on 7th and 8th of August. And as you can see here, it was a huge success. We had more than 900 people participating from more than 300 companies from over 16 countries they had visited. This speaks volume. This picture itself speaks volume. And you can, Satya will be putting up shortly the Facebook, LinkedIn links where you can see all our photos. And we have already started working towards the Data Platform Summit 2019. This will happen on August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. That is the 3-day summit. And the pre-cons, this time we will be having 3 days of pre-cons on August 19th, 20th, 28th, and 21st, with 7 tracks, 100 plus sessions, and 50 plus speakers. Why Data Platform Summit Data Platform Summit is better than other conferences is because we have 100% learning and 0% marketing. We have highly curated content that we offer, and there's absolutely no marketing. So why should you really care? A lot of people who have attended this summit, they have come only for the professional education, the deep technical content by the world's best trainers. So if you wish to reskill and upskill, Data Platform Summit is the platform for you. And one of the major opportunities is about networking. You can make connections for life. These speakers, you can connect with them even after the conference. And a lot of them have benefited because of that. And another really good reason is the world's best infrastructure. That is Radisson Blu. We will be having DPS 2019 happening. It will be happening at Radisson Blu again. And a major quality about the DPS summit is that it involves the community. So what does that really mean? You are the community, and you can decide what you want to learn. So our content, we put it up for voting, and you can decide what you want to learn at the summit. And depending on the maximum votes, we choose the content. So as you can see here, highly curated content and disciplined execution. So the pre-registration for DPS 2019 is already out. So this wouldn't mean that you will be paying for anything. This will just be a show of interest. So if you can pre-register now, you will be given a discount code when Data Platform Summit 2019 will officially launch in January 2019. So you can all pre-register now. Ask your friends to do it. Please spread the word. www.dps10.com. That is our official website. You can pre-register now, and you will avail a discount code in January when during the official launch. So what will be the next steps? You can evaluate our content, Data Platform Summit. As I said, our official website is dps10.com. You will be able to see all our previous schedules, the sessions, the kind of speakers that came in to present at the summit, and our feedbacks from the attendees. So you can evaluate based on that, discuss with your teams from your companies, and then decide to attend. So quickly, the DPG core team founded and the president, Mr. Amit Bansal, Manohar Puna, the vice president, and we have a lot of regional mentors, Avnish, Sandeep, Prince, and Surbi. We recently had Vijay Mishra, who joined in as the regional mentor. These are the eDominer teams from Kolkata and Bangalore who work behind all of this. And this was at the summit this year. And on the stage are the DPG core members and the eDominer teams. A special thanks to Microsoft for helping us in our community initiatives. Uh, and Data Platform Geeks community, of which you all are a part of, you can all access all these free videos, labs, magazines, and host of learning resources. DPG is a one-time registration, and you can attend whatever you wish to, whichever event you wish to attend. So these are our groups, social media groups, the Facebook, LinkedIn, and on Telegram as well. Satya will put it up shortly. You can join all these groups. You can ask questions or answer others' questions as well. So we have our YouTube channel where we upload all our recorded webinars and our SQL trainings on SQL Maestros. So once again, Satya will put it up in the chat window. So you can all subscribe to the channels, and you can watch all our recorded webinars and our SQL videos on SQL Maestros. And please do join the community on Telegram. So without any further delay, let's get started with the webinar. Welcome, Anupama. And please post your questions in the Q&A panel. Anupama will answer them once the session is over. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Rohit. And I'll just start sharing my screen. So just let me know whether you can see my screen, Rohit.
Yes, Anupama, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. So I think I got it right this time. Okay, thanks everyone for coming for this session. And yeah, so whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or even good night, because I'm I'm just running this session from New Zealand.
Sorry for the interruption. Can you please speak a bit loud?
Can you hear me now?
A bit loud, please.
Okay, 1 second. Let's check my volume. How about it now?
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's fine now.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks for everyone for coming for this session. And depending on where you are, wherever you are, and it's good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and because it's 10:30 p.m. in New Zealand. And today's session is about how to creating an advanced Q&A bot using Azure Bot Service and QnA Maker. So I think the Azure Bot Service as well as the QnA Maker has been gone through several iterations, and we will just look at what are the features that currently it offers and what are the future features that it's going to offer. And as usual, thanks for the Data Platform Geeks for giving me this opportunity to present this topic. As Rohit was mentioning, so if you have any questions, just put it on the chat window, and probably I'll go through the questions towards the end of the session. And yeah, just to avoid any interruptions in between. Before we get into the session, just a little bit about myself. I'm Anupama Natarajan. I was awarded the Microsoft MVP for Data Platform yearly this year. And I'm also a certified Microsoft certified trainer as well as a speaker. I speak regularly at conferences and a blogger. And of course, I spoke at the Data Platform Summit yearly this year. And I would recommend people, if you haven't participated in the Data Platform Summit this year, make sure you participated next year. And it is a place where you can gain knowledge, and you get an opportunity also to mingle with a lot of international speakers as well as some of your community people within India. I have got around 15 plus years of experience working predominantly in Microsoft technologies. And I'm really passionate about data and also the various ways of exposing the data, whether it is in terms of APIs or in terms of visualization tools like Power BI reporting services, whatever mechanism it is. Like if data is valuable and it can be exposed for the business to make some informed decisions, I'm passionate about learning about all those various technologies. And that's where currently the trend is around bots. And that's why I have started getting into detail, learning and understanding about the bots. So just in case if you have any questions after this session, and if you'd like to reach to me, feel free to reach to me through any of my social profiles like my LinkedIn, my blog, or Twitter. handle, and I'll be just publishing these slides on the DPG website straight after the session completes. Great. So the agenda for today's session, we will just look at what bots are and what is the main reason bots are currently hot in the market. And we will just look at an introduction around the Azure Bot Service. And if you have attended the previous webinar, which I presented just a week ago around cognitive services, you will be understanding like QnA is one of the service the cognitive services stack currently offers. We'll be looking at what is QnA Maker and the architecture around QnA Maker. And then we'll jump into a demo to show like, okay, how can you use QnA Maker along with the Azure Bot Service, and basically some references that you can utilize to go back. And if you want to practice how to utilize Azure Bot Service and QnA Maker, there are some URLs that will help you to kickstart with your samples. So what is basically a bot? A bot is nothing but a mechanism to solve the common business problems. This is in conjunction of using like your tools like Bot Builder, or your services like cognitive services, which is a series of APIs, along with the machine learning and artificial intelligence. So basically, still it is a way to solve the business problems using either chat as a mechanism or voice as a mechanism. So if you are using chat as a mechanism, then probably it is called as a conversational bot. Or if you're using voice as a mechanism in order to solve the business problems, then it is called as a voice bot. So why bots are getting prominent currently in the industry? Before we get into seeing why it is prominent or getting the prominence in the industry, let us briefly discuss about what is the history of bots, why bots have come to existence. So if you look back in the 1990s, the internet was hitting the market. What it basically means is everyone started looking at websites, and the whole web was actually revolutionized the market around how we started utilizing things. But in the early 2000s, the mobile market came into existence. So the number of users accessing websites started to decrease, and the number of users started to use mobile started increasing. But if you look at the current trend, what is going on, the number of people using or installing the mobile applications have started decreasing. The reason for that may be like the lack of frequent updates of the applications, or the mobile applications, you have to install different mobile applications from different providers. To give you a simple example, like yes, I have to pay my power bill, and I have a phone, I have a broadband connection at my home, and I have to pay the bills for them currently. But each of my provider, whether it's a telecommunications provider or is it a utilities provider, each of them have their own mobile application, and which I have to install. And sometimes I switch providers also frequently. So in that case, the amount of applications I have to keep on installing on my phone, it is ever growing and it's never reducing. And also like the research what they have made, they have done among the public users, what they have identified is the number of users who are installing mobile applications have started reducing, or even if they install it, the amount of usage has been started reducing. And the reason for that is because the amount of apps they need to install, and whether what is the amount of the updates that is currently happening into mobile applications. But the other important thing in the research which they also noticed is the number of people who are predominantly using chat as a mechanism or texting as a mechanism is still stays intact, or it is still growing. And that is the reason, like, okay, bots have taken the prominence in the current industry market, because people are still using chat as a mechanism to communicate, or voice as a mechanism to communicate. So that's why the current trend of bots is taking the prominent. So really, what are the other advantages for bots gaining the attention in the market currently? So bots are devoid of human bias. What it basically means is like when you ask a question to a bot, the bot doesn't know anything about you. So it is not going to say like, okay, this is my friend, so I have to answer it in a different way than this is a person that it's unknown for me. I have to answer it in a different way. So it, like humans, it can't give a response based on the on biasing people, and that is one of the important things. So because you get the straightforward answer from the bot unless and until you make the bot to behave in a certain way. And also, like bots are text based, as I said, like the amount of people using chat as an interface is ever growing rather than reducing, and that's why texting is one of the prominent thing in the future. And I think the voice bot is also growing, but the texting is currently hot in the market, and that's the reason like the chat bots getting more prominent than the voice bots currently. The data is at fingertips, basically like typical to a mobile application, but in this case, like you don't want to have multiple application installed. Instead, if you have a single chat platform like your Skype, or if you are thinking about like a Telegram or Slack, any of these things, if one of these application has been installed, then predominantly like you can access n number of bots through this one particular application. And also you will get the data that you require by just asking simple questions, and the information will be coming to you. So it is more around, instead of you searching for the data, basically the information will get pushed to you. That is the major thing about the bots. So previously, if I end user have to find something, they have to go to the internet, use the search and look for things. But if we have to notify people about something, we can push information to the end user through bots. And if you think about where bots are taking, is like it is going to take the self-service to the next level. So self-service through mobile applications already broke the market in terms of what internet could offer or the websites could offer. But I think bots are going to take things a step forward in the future. So what is Azure Bot Service? So we looked at why bots are currently hot in the market, but Microsoft also recognized that, and they have built up a framework called Azure Bot Service on the cloud, predominantly in order to make creation of bots much easier for developers like us. So you jump onto Azure, you set up a few configurations, and pretty much you have a bot that has been created. And also like they provide intelligent mechanisms in terms of like, do you want to integrate it with a Q&A service, or do you want to integrate it with services like image scanning service or something? It is really straightforward to integrate with them, and as well as exposing that bot through various different channels. So if you look at the channels on the right hand side, which is around, you can expose a bot through a web chat, through email, through Facebook, or through Skype, Slack, Microsoft Teams, or any other. And this the channels are also growing as we speak. So you can expose these bots through any of those channels just through configurations without writing a single line of code. You can make the bots much more intelligent by writing pieces of code in order to customize it. But out of the box itself, without writing code, you can still build a bot and also integrate it with certain services like the LUIS or the QnA straightforward without writing a single line of code. Pretty much bot is all about using the natural language processing engine. So what it basically means is it can understand what the users or end users are asking in terms of the questions, and it can respond accordingly. Just a little bit introduction about cognitive services. So normally like anyone can create a bot. That is straightforward, and especially with the tools like or frameworks like Azure Bot Service, it is really simple to create a bot. But what it makes unique in terms of a bot is, how do you make a bot intelligent? So a simple example or a simple use case I can provide you is, if you're trying to build a bot like, okay, I want to order coffee. And the first time when I'm just using the bot to order for a coffee, it can ask for a basic details because it doesn't know about me, or it doesn't know about what are the things which I would like to order. So for instance, like I prefer to have a mocha on a daily basis, and I purchase mocha. I don't change it at all. But I don't, if I have a bot and if I utilize a bot to order a coffee, I don't want to get asked the question saying like, okay, what is the type of coffee you need to have, whether you need to have a mocha with a single shot or a double shot, or whether you need to have it with one sugar or two sugars. So if I do it, the typical way is like if I order it once, it should remember what I ordered, and probably it should ask the question like, okay, do you want your regular mocha of how you have, or do you want to change the way you want to have the mocha? So that should be a straightforward question for the bot to ask me the second time, rather than asking every single question it was asking me for the first time. So that's what it means, like how do you turn your bot more intelligent? The more data and the more the bot learns about you, it should know and it should predict like what you like to have or what you prefer to have, rather than asking the same questions repeatedly multiple times. So in order to make a bot a more intelligent bot, you need to integrate that with some intelligent services in order to make your bot intelligent. And that's where cognitive services come into play. So as you can look here, cognitive services is nothing but a catalog of APIs which Microsoft have provided. And this list is ever growing also. Like as we speak, like there are a lot of these services are currently in preview. They will become generally available soon, and probably new services will get added to this catalog. So they have segregated these services under the different categories like vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. So in today's session, what we are going to look at is one of such service called QnA Maker, and how can you integrate a QnA Maker with the bot and make the bot a bit more intelligent in answering the questions that through the integration with QnA Maker. The reason why the cognitive services catalog is big, it's not that a bot can be integrated with only one service. You can pick and choose the n number of services from this catalog to integrate with your bot in order to solve a business problem. So understand your problem and identify like what are the different APIs or the services from cognitive services that you can utilize or integrate it with your bot in order to solve that business problem. Great. So as I said in the previous slide, so today's session is more about how do we integrate QnA Maker with a bot in order to make the bot more intelligent, and also in order to answer the queries a particular use case has got. So in this example, you need to understand like what is QnA Maker first of all. So QnA Maker is nothing but a service which is offered by Microsoft in order to translate the FAQs. So I think every organization or every website that you can jump on and look at it, they have a FAQ section. The FAQ section is nothing but it's a frequently asked questions for any consumer who wants to have, if they have a question about a particular service or an offering from a client, like from a customer, then basically they can jump onto the FAQs to say like, okay, I will get the answers through the FAQs first before I call them or ring them to understand of how do I get an answer for a particular question. So some of these times, like the FAQs can be sitting on a website, or it can be sitting in a PDF document, or there may be a link of the FAQs in a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet and so on. It can be any mechanism, but trying to find or integrate or collate these FAQs and make it much more conversational, because I don't want to go and search for the FAQs and go and find for an answer for my question. I would like to ask the question, and it would be always great if someone can respond to my question. And I don't care about whether the FAQ question and answer is sitting in a spreadsheet or on a website. I need just a simple interface where I can ask for the question and it automatically provides me an answer. And that is what I think a bot is trying to address here. So the end user either can jump onto the website and look for the search. And if you can look back on the previous slides, which I was showing, it's not about the search here. It's all about the push of the information to the end users. And that's what bot is actually trying to address. So the user doesn't need to go and jump on searching for the information they need. The user can just say like ask their questions and the bot will pretty much answer their questions. So that is what the QnA framework is basically providing as part of the Microsoft QnA Maker. So as you can see here, the information at the bottom can come from a FAQ, a set of FAQs, product catalog, or it can be a set of structured data, or it can be a support manual, or it can be some paper-based manual. So whatever it is, the QnA Maker can extract the question and answers out of these things, whether it can sit in a doc or it can be sitting in a Excel spreadsheet or a PDF document, or it can be a list of questions on a website. So you can just provide the information to QnA Maker. It extracts all the Q&A question and answers out of the FAQs, and probably it will also like index them in such a way it is searchable. And actually what you can do is, in conjunction with the Microsoft Bot Framework or Azure Bot Service, you can integrate this QnA Maker and probably expose that bot through various channels like email, Facebook, Skype for Business, Slack, Microsoft Teams, and probably you can expose them. So a simple use case I would say is you can have a QnA, you can integrate the QnA Maker either for internal to an enterprise or even external to your end users. So internal to an enterprise, some of the scenarios where you can use QnA bot is, I have my HR department, and the employees in my organization typically have got questions related to the HR policies and processes. So rather than them jumping onto your intranet and searching for answers for those questions, instead, if you just expose a HR bot, basically they can try and ask the questions and get the answers. And similarly, like every organization will have a IT help desk, and predominantly if people have got IT problems, they will be just jumping onto the website looking for information. Instead, you can create an IT bot. So where QnA Maker can be handy is you can create knowledge bases in QnA using QnA Maker for different streams like, okay, this is my HR FAQs, this is my IT help related FAQs, and this is my finance related FAQs. You can create the knowledge bases, but then through a single bot, you can just ask the question saying, okay, is this a question related to HR? Then I'll scan my HR knowledge base. Is this a question related to my IT related one? Then I will pass it on to the IT related knowledge base. So this is just a simple example. But if you think about expanding this into real world scenarios, you can think about like the companies that they offer multiple services. You may have customers just enrolled with your company for multiple services. So rather than having them having separate bots for separate things, you can have a single bot. Depending on the type of question they ask, then your bot can appropriately search the appropriate knowledge bases. And that's what how you can make your QnA Maker much more extensible and also intelligent to your bot. So we understood where what are the use cases where you can utilize QnA Maker, but what is the architecture of QnA Maker basically? So we create basically it all starts with creating a particular QnA Maker resource or a service in Azure. So you provision that, and then you log on to QnA Maker portal. So if you use the website like QnAMaker.ai, what it allows you to do is it allows you to create an FAQs based on whether your input can be a website which has got the list of question and answers, or a PDF document, or a Word document, or an Excel spreadsheet. Once you upload the information, it scans through the document and it scans through the question and answers, and it creates a question and answer pair in the QnA website. So once that is created, then probably you can train the QnA Maker for the type of, like you can, it's not about what default comes with the document. You can add additional questions also. So to give you an example, I have a PDF document which was created 5 years ago, which has got some of the question and answers, but no one has updated it since the last 5 years. You can just import the question and answers, and then you can add additional question and answers that are still applicable, or if you want to modify whatever that was already there in the PDF, you can still do that in the QnA Maker. Once you have prepared your question and answers, then probably you can publish your knowledge base. And once a knowledge base is published, then pretty much the knowledge base is ready to be integrated with your bot. And it also utilizes Azure Search. So what it does is like in the previous slide, we saw like indexes are getting created as part of importing your QnA. Basically, those indexes will facilitate how the knowledge bases will be searched when the bot is trying to ask the question. And the architecture behind the scenes in Azure uses the Azure Search in order to search the QnA knowledge bases. And finally, the QnA endpoint will be exposed through your bot, which will be answering for the questions the end user is asking. So this is pretty much summarizes the QnA architecture and how the different services are tied together, finally to provide you a bot that is linked with a QnA Maker service, and which in turn answers the questions related to the end user based on scanning through the appropriate knowledge bases. So that is what pretty much we are going to say in a simple demo, like how do we start provisioning a QnA Maker service in Azure, then jump onto the QnAMaker.ai website, and we will be seeing around how do we import an existing FAQ, or if I want to create a new FAQ, and then how do you train and test the FAQs, and then you publish those FAQs, and then finally like how it gets integrated with your Azure Bot Service or your bot. And all these things, I'm going to demonstrate it without writing a single line of code. If you have attended my previous session last week, like we tried using the bot framework, the Windows bot framework, and integrated with cognitive services. And today's demo is more around using Azure Bot Service with the QnA Maker. But if you want to just programmatically access your knowledge base, is that possible? Yes, of course it is possible. Either you can use it using, as usual, with the SDK, or you can utilize it using the REST API for QnA Maker, and still you can programmatically access your knowledge base. So, but today's session is not about programmatically accessing. It is more around how do we just do it without writing a single line of code. So let us quickly jump on to Azure to do this demonstration. Great. So what I have done is, in order to demonstrate this, I need a series of FAQs, and I'm planning to attend the PASS Summit, which is going to happen next year. So this is the PASS Summit that is happening on a yearly basis. Next week it is happening in Seattle, and as part of the PASS Summit, basically, like if you want to submit for the session as a speaker, you can submit your abstracts, and they go through a selection process. And if you are selected to speak, then probably you get a nomination. But what they have got is some of the guidelines as a speaker, like what are the things you need to know about the summit, and what is the deadline for the abstracts, and what are the different ways how I can submit an abstract. So what are the different tracks or categories they have got under which you can submit your sessions. So pretty much they have got built an FAQ on their website, which is I'm going to use as an example for this demonstration. So in this scenario, it is just a web page which has got a series of question and answers. So what I really need from here is this URL. I'll just copy it. And the second thing what I have got here is basically I have got a resource group called webinars. So the first thing what I will be doing in a resource group, if I want to create a QnA Maker, is to go and add a service. Called QnA Maker. So as you can see here, I have got a QnA Maker service which I want to create. Great. I'll go and hit on create. And as usual, like when you're trying to provision any particular services in Azure, it will ask for some of the details. One is, what is the name of the QnA Maker service? What is the subscription under which you want to create it? And then you provide the pricing tier. As you can see here, there are a couple of pricing tiers available, which is around 3 calls that you can make per second to your QnA Maker. endpoint, and finally you can choose the location. By default, it is showing West US because I have a subscription tied to that. And then you can choose the resource group under which you want to create it. I'll just jump on to create a different one so you can see the webinar resource group. Great. And also, like from, as I said, like the QnA Maker basically uses the Azure search. And as per any pricing model in Azure, you need to understand what are the different services that are going to be provisioned as part of your QnA Maker service. So here I'm going to have a QnA Maker management service, which will come with its own pricing tier. And then it is going to internally use an search, Azure search, which means I'll have a pricing associated with Azure search. And finally, if I'm going to use application insights, then probably, yes, of course, that will be coming with a cost also. But you can determine whether you want to use application insights or not, but the search is by default, you will be using it. You can't just say like, I don't want to utilize Azure search at all. But you can go for a basic tier or something from a search perspective. So once you fill all these details, basically it will provision a QnA Maker service. So we will come back to that, like where the service is going to be handy. So just give the basic details, provision a QnA service, and that is what I have already provisioned here under my resource group called webinars. Just I will quickly jump onto that and show that to you before I jump onto the QnA Maker website. Great. So under my webinars here, great. So there is a whole heap of services got provision. So as part of provisioning a QnA Maker service, you get a QnA cognitive services of type cognitive services gets provisioned. The second thing is it also provisions a app service, and also it will be provisioning it under a app service plan. So how do we tie these things together? We'll be looking at it after we import our FAQs. But just keep in mind, the first step here is you provision a QnA Maker service. So once you provision the QnA Maker service, you jump onto the website, which is the QnAMaker.ai. So let me quickly refresh that. Great. As you can see here, QnAMaker.ai is a separate service that allows you to actually create your knowledge bases. So in the example, when I was showing the slides, I was talking here about like, okay, if you have different services that you're providing for your customers, and if you have separate set of FAQs for each and every service, pretty much you can create a knowledge base for each and every service. And where you will be creating the knowledge base is in this website, which is the QnAMaker.ai. So I'll be jumping on to create a new knowledge base. So as I said here, it doesn't need to be restricted to one knowledge base. Rather than having one knowledge base covering everything, you can create separate knowledge bases, and you can appropriately redirect the end user queries there. So once I come here, I can create a QnA service in Azure if I haven't provisioned before. So for instance, like we previously went and provisioned a QnA Maker service. If you haven't done that and you want to proceed, like provision it from here itself, you can do that. But if you have already provisioned it as part of the previous step, it will be listed here. For instance, like I have already provisioned a QnA Maker service on Azure. So I just select my subscription, and automatically the QnA service will be listed here. So if you haven't done that, I have the ability here to provision a QnA service on Azure. So once that's done, the next step is around naming, giving a naming convention for your knowledge base. So as I said here, like you can prefix that with the service that you are going to offer for which the knowledge base is applicable. In my example here, I'm going to create a Past Summit FAQ. So I can give the name as a Past Summit 2018 FAQ as my knowledge base name. And the next thing is, where is the data coming from for the knowledge base FAQ? So for this knowledge base, the supported file formats, as you can see here, is a TSV, a tab delimited file, or a PDF, or a doc, or a docx, or XLSX, which is an Excel file. So they should be containing the questions and answers in sequence. And what it allows the QnA Maker allows you to do is it imports the information and it creates the question and answer pairs appropriately. So in my scenario, if I have a website, I can just copy the URL of the website, jump onto QnA Maker, and just say like add URL. So what it will do is it will scan through this particular URL. It takes the questions and answer pairs and it creates them appropriately. So keep watching this space because I have been watching QnA Maker from its preview stage. A lot of features are getting added even before I notice it. Every time I jump on here, something new has been always coming through. A classic example is the chit chat. So the chit chat is really new and I haven't seen that 6 months back or something when I was creating my knowledge bases. So what it allows you to do is when you normally import your Q&As or FAQs from existing websites, as I said, like you have, like if you want to personalize something, so I want to say hi, good morning, or some of these things, I can just add them as questions or something. But what the chit chat allows you to do is, depending on the type of people you are dealing with, whether it's professional or is it friend or comic, for whom the knowledge base is applicable, then automatically it will have some chit chat data that it automatically imports. So some of the basic questions like good morning or something, there will be a response provided by the bot from this predefined chit chat information. And you can also go and change or import a different set of chit chat information if you really like to do that. And final step is once you have configured those things, then actually creating the knowledge base. What happens behind the scenes in terms of creating the knowledge base is what I explained in the Q&A architecture, which is around, it scans through the question and answers, whether it's through on a website or a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet, and automatically it creates the indexes and it utilizes Azure search and creates those indexes and keeps it ready so that when the Q&A endpoint is linked with a bot, probably it can use those indexes to provide the responses. So I have already created a knowledge base here using the past summit FAQs. Just trying to load it here. Just quickly, I will show it to you. So the QnA Maker is currently, it's generally available. So it is no longer, it is in preview mode. But if you have created any, if people have already used QnA Maker and if they have created the knowledge bases in your preview one, so you can migrate them into the actual generally available area of QnA Maker. So as you can see the link here, if you have used the preview knowledge bases, you can go on them and access there and get them imported here if you need to. Great. So this is the knowledge base that I have already created. So basically, this is the URL I passed, which is the frequently asked questions. And as you can see here, all the questions and the answers are listed here. So pretty much it has just screen scrapped the information. And the Q&As are going for a number of pages. So if I want to add any particular Q&A pair, I can go and add it. If I don't want to add it, then I can just remove this. So I'm just using the default one, but it gives you the ability to add your own question and answers in addition to what it got imported automatically. So once you have got your base questions and answers, the next thing you need to do is to save the information and train it. So the train, basically the saving and training process is basically using the keywords so that, and behind the scenes, it uses machine learning in such a way, like what are the different intents on the combination of keywords that can be extracted out of those questions and answers that will be stored. And when you try to test it appropriately, it can search for that. I think the training mechanism or the algorithms used for training has been evolved, because I have been using Q&A starting from the preview stage. Initially, to start with, it required the exact question that needs to be asked. So if my Q&A question says like, okay, when and where is past summit 2018, I have to ask the exact question. I can't just write patterns there unless and until I cut the code using the Windows bot framework. But here what I can say is I don't need to ask the exact question. So I can just say when is past summit. So it will automatically scan and it will say there is no question in the Q&A which is when is past summit. The question there is when and where is past summit. But now I can put some keywords automatically and it will tell like automatically it knows like what is the answer that needs to be. So because the algorithm has been tuned based on during the preview stage, based on the type of questions that can be asked through the series of the keywords that are utilized in this knowledge base. So once you have tested with different combinations, or if you want to tweak the knowledge base, the final thing to do is to publish the knowledge base. So by publishing the knowledge base, as I say here, like you are moving your test indexes into production index, and once it is published, then the endpoint will be available. So in my case, I have already published it, and here is my deployment details. So my endpoints are already available. As you can see here, that these are the three key information. One is the host, the authorization endpoint key. This is really critical. And then the final thing is the knowledge base ID. So the knowledge base ID is nothing but this GUID is your knowledge base ID. So these are the key three key pieces of information that you require from your knowledge, the QnA knowledge base, in order to integrate this with your bot. Fine. So now I have built my QnA Maker. So I have got a knowledge base that has been built here. It has been tested, trained, as well as tested, and it has been published. So now it is time for me, how do I integrate this knowledge base into a bot? So let us go back to our Azure. So here what I want to do is I want to just create a simple bot. So what I'll do here is I'll just go to my resource group again, like webinars, and now I need to add a service. So what I can do here is I can just say, okay, I want to just integrate it with my bot called, so let me put a web app bot. I need to create a web app bot here. So I select it, and as per any particular Azure service, you have to provide some details. So you provide what is the name of the bot and under which subscription you want to create it. And finally, yes, you have a pricing tier for your bot also here. So the bot template is the next key thing. So as you can see here, I can create a bot with the SDK version 4. So one thing to keep in mind is like initially when the bot framework was released, it was released for version 3. And this year, like version 4, as part of the Ignite conference, like version 4 has gone into public. So it's no longer in preview, it is generally available. But some of the things like the QnA bot, like it doesn't automatically like have the GUI configurations. So in order to make things easy without writing lots of lines of code, you can still use the version 3 SDK. So you choose the type of bot as question and answer here, and I'll just say select. So that's it. So what it does is basically it creates a web app bot of the bot template question and answer. The one thing to keep in mind here is I have used the version 3, not the version 4. So I'm not going to create it because I already got a web app bot available here. This is my DPG QnA bot. So this is basically a web app bot that has been created. Now I have to link this web app bot because this is the bot I will be querying for the knowledge base of which I have published for the past summit FAQs. So what is the only thing I have to do here is, as I said, the three key pieces of information from your QnA Maker is basically what is my endpoint, and what is my knowledge base GUID, and what is my authorization key here. So these are the three pieces of information that you get as part of publishing your QnA Maker, and you have to take that pieces of information and configure it into your bot. So here I will jump on to the app settings. In app settings, you can see there are three settings that it is available here in terms of app settings name, my QnA authorization key, what is my QnA endpoint host name, and as well as the knowledge base ID. And all these three values is what you have got as part of the publishing process of your knowledge base. So I have just embedded the values here. So this is my authorization key, my endpoint, as well as my knowledge base ID. and I pretty much have to save this information. So this is how I can link my knowledge base with an existing bot without writing a single line of code. I haven't showed you Visual Studio at all here, and I haven't showed you the bot framework or anything here. So this is just an Azure Bot Service I provisioned and automatically jumped onto QnA Maker, create a knowledge base, took those 3 key pieces of information, which is my authorization key, my host, as well as my knowledge base ID, linked it with my bot, and now my bot is available to be tested. So by default, I think your bot comes up with a web chat test on Azure. So I don't need to do anything saying. So now I can start asking the questions related to so my past summit FAQs. So I have just finished the past summit. So the past summit 2018 will be held in November 6th, from November 6th to November 9th, and here you go. So this is just an answer that is coming from my FAQs which are imported. So as you can see here, without writing a simple single line of code, we are able to create a knowledge base by importing any FAQs that already exist in your environment in any format, like a PDF or a web page or an Excel spreadsheet. Create a knowledge base and automatically integrate that knowledge base into your bot. So can I do everything without writing code? Not everything. So for a simple example, I have got n number of knowledge bases, but I want to have single bot. In order to do that, then you have to work on writing pieces of code in order to say, like, okay, based on the phrases or the questions that has been asked, then you need to appropriately redirect the end users to the knowledge base to search for the information. So this is where the classic thing is, like, I want to build an enterprise bot, and based on the type of question the end user is asking, I want to search whether it's a HR knowledge base or a IT knowledge base or finance knowledge base. You can do that, but for that you have to write some lines of code in order to enhance that functionality. But if you're thinking about building a simple bot, try to integrate QnA Maker. It is really straightforward to do that without writing a single line of code. So just jumping back onto the slides here. So we're almost towards the final part of our session. So we saw how you can integrate a QnA Maker with Azure Bot Service. But also, like, as I said, like the QnA Maker has also got an API, and they are enhancing the QnA Maker, which means there are more endpoints that are getting exposed, which you can programmatically access. And also the pricing for the QnA Maker is also available. Just to keep in mind, the QnA Maker, you have pricing because you have to import the knowledge base. Azure search costing need to be also calculated, along with if you want to have monitoring or analytics, then the appropriate services like app insights need to be also factored into your pricing. So I think that's pretty much I wanted to cover today as part of, like, how can you build a bot integrating with one of the cognitive services, which is the QnA Maker. And I think that pretty much summarizes the session today. And yeah, so let us quickly check the questions. And before I jump onto the questions, like, Rohit, like, do you want to share any slides or anything?
Yes, thank you so much, Anupama. Yeah, I'll have a couple of slides that I want to share. So I'll just take 2 minutes. All right. So like I said earlier, if you have any questions, you can join our Facebook groups, the LinkedIn groups, and on Telegram as well on your mobile to communicate with the community. If you have any questions after the webinar, you can always ask there. A quick word from our sponsors, SQL Maestros. As I said earlier, we offer a lot of advanced trainings on SQL Server and Microsoft Data Platform. We have the hands-on labs, which are self-paced online learning. We have the on-site training and the SQL Server health check. If you have any queries regarding these, you can email us at classes@sqlmaestros.com. And we have our online masterclasses coming up. For this, we have tied up with some of the world's best trainers to take deep dive advanced trainings on Microsoft Data Platform and SQL Server. These will be 8-hour classes, and which will be delivered 4 hours on each day. So you can quickly take a note of the contacts. There are 2 contacts numbers, and you can write us at classes@sqlmaestros if you have any queries. And our hands-on labs. Since you all are part of the community now, you can access our free demos that we offer. You can, if you are keen on it, you can visit our website. And if you have any queries, holsales@sqlmaestros.com. You can write us there.